our lovely spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Storytime with the Scariest Podcast.
Woo!
For those of you who are joining us for the first... Wait, hold on. I'm Robin Grace, and this is Adam Diaz.
Hello.
And now, those of you that are joining us for the first time, this is the Storytime episodes where we share your homegrown horrors with you.
Indeed. And I usually ask you what a homegrown horror is, but this time I'll say it. It's the stories that you folks have sent us that are either scary, paranormal, creepy in some way, true crime sometimes. People have brushes with really creepy things that are just real life. Coincidental, where you thought there was like a ghost, but it turns out it was like your cat, something funny like that. Spiritual, some people have really touching stories that they send us about like seeing a loved one or having some sort of connection to someone who's passed away. And they're fantastic, and we get a lot of them. Some of them are directly from you, some of them are from your friends or from your family, and we appreciate all of them, and we want to read all of them. So if you have a story you'd like to send, please email storytime@scarish.com, or you can contact us on any of our social medias, and we have Facebook, which is facebook.com/scarishpodcast. We have @scarishpod is our Twitter, and @scarishpodcast is our Instagram. And you can also go to our website, scarish.com, click on Contact Us, fill out that form, and send it. We get a lot of them that way, and we appreciate every single one of them.
Yeah.
But like Robin said, we are going to read those tonight, and we do record these episodes live, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is around the time that it is right now, every Wednesday. So thank you to everyone who is joining us live. We appreciate all of you, and I think we're going to jump in. So here's the deal. We're going to be doing 5. 4 of them are rather long. I think 2 of them are really long, according to our editor, i.e. my mom. And 1 of them is very short. So I'm going to do 3 technically, because 1 of them is pretty short.
So you're going first.
So I'm going to go first. Although I do want to cover something before we get into this, because I meant to address it last episode, but I think we should probably discuss this Area 51 raid that's being planned. So I don't, like Robin and I have talked about it a little bit. We haven't really talked as in-depth as I wouldn't say in-depth as we're about to, but first and foremost, I am not going to this thing.
I'm not going.
So anyone who actually is considering going, I think for the most part, it's pretty clear that this is just sort of a funny joke, that everyone's just like fucking around to see how nervous they can make people and see how many people might be interested. And like the best meme I saw of it is that meme where like someone sees a hot chick and he goes to like walk after her and someone holds out his arm to stop him from doing it. The hot chick was named Area 51 Raid. The guy looking at her was Millennial. And then, like, the person that holds out the arm was, like, travel costs. And I was like, yeah, I think that's about as accurate as it's going to get on this one. So I think it's hilarious that this group started and it's just taken on a life of its own. Like, what do you think? Because, like, people have been posting a ton of shit in our Scary Spooky Friends group on Facebook.
I'm just in it for the memes.
Are you in it for the memes?
I'm just in it for the memes. They're so good. There's a whole bunch about Naruto runners.
Yes.
Like,
Someone posted that the best part about this whole thing is that someone in the Pentagon had to brief a senior officer of what a Naruto run actually is.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, that's just so funny. And like, it's just the craziest thing. We've discussed it a little tiny bit, but like September 20th, if anyone goes, please go Facebook Live so I can see this massacre unfold before everything gets shut down. And then we'll all get an idea of like the government's capabilities for shutting down social media around like secure sites. So it's just some bizarre shit that I think is absolutely hilarious that I just definitely wanted to have like, let's take a moment to address this like officially. So
cool.
Right on. I'm going to move on to the first homegrown horror of the show. And the subject is Fat Ghost Update, because we had one previously from America that was called Fat Ghost. It starts out like this. Hey, Adam and Robin.
Hey.
Just wanted to give you a quick update on the fat ghost situation at my office. As you might remember, our office alarm is being triggered at least once a week, but no one is visible on the cameras we have. Someone came to fix it, and I guess it worked for a while at least. After I wrote you, the alarm did not go off for a few days, and I did not hear anything about it, so I assumed it had stopped. Last week, we received a bill from SFPD, that's the San Francisco Police Department, I believe, because our alarm has continued to go off for the past month, at least once a week. We called the alarm company because we want them to pay for our SFPD fine, so they came today to check it out. According to the alarm guy, our alarm is working just fine. He says something must be triggering it. He is currently upgrading our system, so maybe that'll help with the problem, but I'd like to think that a 50-pound ghost comes to our office once a week to hang out. Hope you all are doing well. I wish I could go to the Winchester Mystery House. Maybe next time. Thank you for all you do. Love you, America. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
sending us the
much.
update. I think it's funny because we talked about how it had to be at least 50 pounds that would trigger this alarm.
Yeah.
We went over the story the first time, so she was just like, it must be a really fat ghost. Because if they're supposed to weigh nothing and it weighs 50 pounds, it's got to be huge.
I mean, you sent me a video earlier today of that doggo, and it looks like the security camera just picks up any little tiny movement. So.
Oh, yeah. There's a security camera that's like triggered like at home. Like there's movement. And like it turns from looking outside to looking inside, and it's just this giant German Shepherd looking out the window. It's absolutely adorable. But if this is like a professional level system, like super expensive to the point where they're going to send someone out to upgrade the system, like that's just an anomaly. Maybe it's it's an anomaly. It's a ghost in the machine, perhaps. So fun stuff. Thank you for the update. Anyone who has sent us an email, it's like I'll keep you updated. If you have an update, now is the time to send it because we definitely want to know. So good stuff. Way to start the show strong.
Cool. So I'm going to go into my first email of the night. And this one is titled A Desecrated Graveyard.
Oh, no.
And it begins, hello, feel free to share on this pod, or this on the pod.
Hello.
Hello. My name is Rika, and my pronouns are they and them. I'm also known as Aves Monster Online. Oh, that
Shout
makes
out
sense.
to Aves Monster.
Hello.
What up?
I thought I would share the origin story of a famously haunted location in my city that I always found interesting. I've lived in Denver, Colorado for my whole life and have accumulated quite a few spooky stories since it's supposedly one of the most haunted cities in the country. Of course, a lot of cities say this, say the same thing, so who knows?
It's like hotels. Like, we're the most haunted hotel in America.
Everyone wants to
Says
be.
everyone.
This particular story is completely true and, quite frankly, pretty sad. Near downtown Denver are two adjacent parks by the names of Cheeseman and Congress. Back in 1858, these two parks were Mount Prospect Cemetery, a graveyard that became home to the bodies of many poor and less fortunate people up until the year 1890. Oh my God, dyslexia. By then, the cemetery had all but stopped getting used. The land was then sold to the city of Denver with the intention of being reformed into a park. The families of the deceased only had 90 days to relocate the remains of their loved ones, but since many of the graves belonged to vagrants and the poor, a vast amount of bodies went unclaimed.
That's horrible.
That
That's
is
so
super
sad.
horrible. An undertaker was hired 3 years later to move the remaining bodies. This undertaker was to provide a new box for each body and was paid by the casket. He was quick to find a very terrible loophole in this plan.
I knew this was coming as soon as you said paid by the casket.
Yeah, moving more caskets meant acquiring more money. And so the undertaker hacked up the bodies he found.
That's not where I thought it was going. I thought they were going to be empty.
I knew that's where it
Holy
was
shit.
going. Hacked up the bodies he found and placed them into separate child-sized boxes. He did his work hastily, resulting in body parts being carelessly strewn about the land. Some of these body parts were scavenged by various gravediggers and collectors, while others were simply left there. Some bodies were never even dug up to begin with. That's sad.
That is sad.
Where they're just left there and like paved over.
Like, how can you be
or something.
laid to rest if like people either defile your body or like move your grave site? You know, like your family can't come see you again ever.
The desecration couldn't go unnoticed forever. Many people saw the aftermath and were horrified at the sight. The contract with the undertaker was terminated and the cemetery was closed off, but another effort to move the remaining bodies never came to be. The next year, in 1894, the construction for the park began with the remains still below.
That's so gross.
That those children are dancing with ghosts is what's going on. It is estimated that approximately 2,000 bodies are still buried under Cheeseman and Congress parks. Whenever new construction goes on around there, it is inevitable that an article or two will pop up about the latest human remains they found while digging.
Wow.
That's messed up.
Yes, it is.
The blatant disrespect for the dead, paired with the disconcerting fact that bones lie below the dirt, have caused for a lot of ghost stories to be told about the parks. People have reported everything from seeing ghostly figures at night to feeling something holding them down to the earth as they rest on the grass on a sunny day.
Why are you resting on the grass in a place that used to be a graveyard?
I'm sure a lot of people don't actually know that, you know? That it's just a nice park and they're just there to chill, relax, and whatnot.
What if it's just like some long lost like member of their family that they accidentally stumbled by their grave and they're giving them a hug like, please don't leave me, I'm so lonely.
That's ridiculously depressing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I used to live in the Congress Park neighborhood as a kid and would experience things such as hearing footsteps in the attic and seeing glowing eyes watching me through my window almost every night. Could this have just been an overactive child's imagination? Probably, I'll never know, but my mom used to tell stories of similar discomfort in that house. The park itself is rather beautiful. You can Google Cheeseman Park, Denver, if you want to see it or learn more. Congress Park works out too, but Cheeseman is bigger and is usually referenced more. Thank you both so much for reading. I'll send more local stories in the future. I appreciate all your hard work and hope you have a wonderful night. Rika. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate you sending. That's fucking crazy and super, super creepy. Like, I've heard of stuff like that happening in San Diego, and I'm sure it happens in a lot of places. But knowing that it also happens in Denver, Colorado, too, is kind of mind-blowing. So if we ever make our Stanley Hotel goal, I feel like we should probably stop by one of these parks as well.
We'll see if it's even manageable with the distances.
Yeah, I don't know, but still, that's some creepy shit. So thank you. I know you as Aves Monster, and I can say that correctly. So thank you, Aves Monster, who was in the chat while we read this. And, like, they got super excited, and everyone's like, oh, my God, it's your story. So it's really fun when you folks send a story and you watch live because you get to hear us read it, and you get to see people react to it. That was really good, too. So very much appreciate you sending that one in. Good stuff.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of parks are haunted because of that very reason. People just pave right over cemeteries.
If this is a common issue here, but not elsewhere. You know what I mean? Because I feel like a place like England, which is very small but's been around for a very long time, probably at some point just stopped paying attention to like the sites they were building on because they're like, if you pay attention to where we've buried people on this tiny island over the course of like 2,000 years or however much longer it's been like severely I shouldn't say severely, but definitely populated, it would just be like terrifying to think like everywhere is haunted, man. Like everywhere is haunted. So that's just crazy to think about.
I think it definitely has to do with land and what's actually available, and places like Japan that don't have a lot of land whatsoever are just like, we stack them on top of each other.
No.
They like cremate them, but then they put them on top of each other.
Yeah, they cremate your body and they have like a headstone for your whole family.
Yeah.
And they put a little bit of your ash underneath and they dispose of the rest of your ash.
Do they?
Yeah, that's what the tour guide told us.
Do they actually? I don't think they dispose of it.
That's what she said. She said they only put a little bit of the ash from your cremation like under your headstone. And then she said it's actually illegal in Japan to have your body buried anyway. Yeah. And that like even in death, like Japanese people are courteous of their space.
Dispose of my family's
I think
ash.
It's more like you're dumping the ashes like in the ocean or someplace that was
or
like
just
meaningful
have
to them.
like an urn.
You just put it in your barbecue and makes all your food taste delicious until you clean it the next time. So that's actually a plot from Married with Children. Anyone who knew that, you get 10 cool points. So just saying. All right, I'm going to move on to my second one of the show, and this one's subject is Winchester Mystery House, and it starts out like this. My sister told me she wrote you guys a story of something that happened to one of our aunts when she was younger, and I got mad since I introduced her to y'all, and I've been listening for a year, and I suck. I said I would send a story ASAP, but I'm tight on time. In fact, I'm on my lunch break at the hospital where I work, so I'm making this as quick as possible. So I'm sending my quick experience at the Winchester Mystery House I had when I went 2 days ago. Here goes.
Wow.
First of all, I believe myself to be like a Lorraine Warren, in parentheses, from the movies, in a sense where I do believe in the supernatural, but I think most experiences can be explained, and I don't immediately believe an experience to be paranormal. First, I try to find an explanation, in parentheses, if I have the interest enough or energy, and then I think, oh yeah, it could have been something paranormal, whatever, moving on with my life.
I do the same thing where it's like, could have been ghosts, could have been, I don't know, anything, and I'm just going to go back and do my thing because I don't want to dwell on the fact that it could be ghosts.
I think just the best way to approach something is try and find the rational explanation first, because jumping to conclusions is just not something that's going to be great, because that will start to persist in like the way you analyze a lot of things.
I hear assuming makes an ass out of you and
Ming.
Me, and Ming. That's racist.
Who's Ming?
It's because I'm Asian, isn't it?
Wow, that's messed up.
Anyway, no, yeah. And me being the ghost makes an ass out of you and the ghost, said ghost. So don't assume.
Wow, cool. That was a long walk for a silly joke.
I don't.
All right. I'm leaving that in.
My jokes are dry, okay?
So, my parents came to visit in Northern California. We're from San Diego, but I'm doing an internship at a hospital in NorCal. They have always wanted to go to the Winchester Mystery House, so they decided we should all go, Even though I wanted to go with you guys, it just
Aw.
wouldn't have worked out because of my schedule. It's a shame, but I'm sure we will have events in the future that you will hopefully be able to attend.
Yeah, the people at the tour place anyway probably would have been like, "Holy crap, this is a huge group." If a whole bunch of other people had come.
I was hoping to have that problem.
Well, it worked out because we didn't have a big group, we were able to change times.
Yeah, shift around the
So,
times so that everyone could
It
actually
kind of
match
worked
up.
out.
It goes on to say, so we went the day after Labor Day, so it was pretty empty seeing as
Did you
everyone...
wear white?
Probably not because it was after Labor Day. So it was pretty empty seeing as everyone wanted to go on Labor Day. So we walk in, and near the gift shop, there's a bathroom by the outside patio area. My mom and I walk in, and she has this weird habit of checking to see if anyone is in the bathroom with us. She does that by hunching down to look for feet. However, it wasn't necessary because all the stalls were wide open. I'm not saying that's paranoid. I'm just wondering, does your mom talk a lot of shit? Because sometimes it's a really good thing to check and see if there's anyone in that bathroom. If you ever seen Trading Places, like, you don't want to reveal your secret, like, nefarious plan if the person's in the bathroom with you. Because that stuff happens in movies and television all the time.
I just think that's weird.
It's a little bit weird.
It's a little strange, but there must be a reason she does it.
It might be a privacy thing. Like, some people are not comfortable with, like, letting her rip, if you know what I mean.
Well,
like when there's other people in the bathroom.
I've gone to the bathroom next to my best friend before, and it was a step in our friendship that
like in
was like,
stalls next to each other?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just normal stuff. Like, me and my friends called it battle shits.
Oh,
like,
my
if you're in the stall
gosh.
next to each other, like, fire away. Like, that's just how it goes. I met a guy who at work, I told him, like, when I go to the restroom, like, I try and do the courtesy flush, like, if it's going to not be, you know, pleasant. And that guy was like, I don't believe in the courtesy flush. Like, that's my orchestra. That is my symphony. Like, you're just going to get a treat. I was
It's
like,
his
like,
magnum
that is-
opus or whatever.
I was like, that is disgusting. However, I'm adopting this philosophy
Oh my
immediately.
God.
So, and there was some guy in my same job who used to go in there and play songs really loud so you could hear music blaring from the bathroom because they were so, like, self-conscious about the noises their ass was about to produce. We called him, like, DJ Potty because it was like every time this person went to the bathroom, you just hear music blaring from it. And it was just like, your shits are not that loud, man. Like, no one cares. Like, now that you play music, we all know when you're in the bathroom. That's even worse.
I think that's cute.
All right. We're done talking about bathroom habits. Let's jump back into this email. We could see into all of them except for the very last stall, in parentheses, the handicap stall, because it is so large that we can't see into it. She goes into the handicap stall, and I go into the very first stall because that's always my stall of choice. I read somewhere that it's usually the cleanest one because it's picked the least. That's interesting. Anyway, go ahead.
I always pick it.
Do you always pick the first one?
Yeah, I always pick the first one. Unless it is filled with shit. And then I have to find a different one.
Well, being a dude, I don't know if this is any different with the female bathrooms, but I feel like guys are a little bit grosser. I'm not saying that in a sexist way. I'm just saying I've gone into a bathroom before, and every stall has been empty, and every stall has been filled with a massive shit that someone was not responsible enough to flush, because guys are disgusting morons. And I'm like, cool, I'll hold it and find another fucking bathroom because this is just gross. So I pick the first available clean stall. That's
Okay.
what I go with.
All right.
This has become a weird
Yeah,
podcast.
it's a weird-
It's a weird episode. This episode's all about shit and public restrooms. So anyway, is what it says. She goes into the very last stall. I go to the very first one. There's probably like 4 stalls between us. Then I hear her sneeze, and I'm just, going. And as soon as I was done, I hear in a very polite voice, "Bless you." And I thought to myself, wow, that lady was very quiet. I didn't hear her open the door to the bathroom or close the stall door behind her. I could
That's
tell,
creepy. Oh,
though,
that's
to myself, wow, I could tell she was in between us in one of the 4 stalls. Then my second thought is, sheesh, why is my mom not saying thank you? How rude. I almost said thank you for my mom, but then realized how weird that would be. Imagine saying bless you to someone in the bathroom you heard sneezed in one of the stalls and receiving a thank you from the polar end of the bathroom. So I refrained from saying thanks for my mom. Then I finally hear my mom say thank you. It really wasn't that long. It probably took her like 10 seconds to say thank you. So I come out of the bathroom right before my mom. As I'm washing my hands, I realize that nobody is in any of the stalls. I didn't realize this immediately, only after my mom and I were small talking as we washed our hands. That's when I asked her, "Hey mom, wasn't there someone in here with us?" And she said there wasn't, but after going back and forth a bit arguing that there was, she said, I specifically remember checking for someone in the stalls, and they were all wide open, which I can attest to, and I could see clearly we were the only ones in this bathroom. So I then retaliated, ready to win the argument. Oh yeah? Then who said bless you when you sneezed? To which she replied, you, silly. Holy shit. That's when I was like, what? No, it wasn't. She swears it was my voice, and we were both accusing each other of trying to scare the other. I don't actually believe it was my mom because first, it didn't sound like her, and second, she's not a jokester like that. That's more like my dad's humor, and third, she doesn't speak much English, so it doesn't make sense. She would say bless you to herself and then thank herself even if she did. This is some really good speculation here.
That's just so crazy.
Her accent is so thick that I would have been able to tell it was her even if she was faking the voice. She still believes it was me, but I have only myself as my alibi because I know it was not. Anyway, not that creepy of a story, but kind of fun nonetheless.
I think that's creepy.
It's a really good story.
Especially after we've covered, like, bathroom demons.
Yeah. This is just a really polite bathroom ghost. This is Moaning Myrtle. If she didn't moan all the time, it was just
Moaning Myrtle's kind of a bitch.
This is polite Myrtle. I think maybe someone came in parentheses, very quietly, and went into one of the stalls between us and decided, oh, you know what? I don't need to pee anymore. And just said, bless you, to be polite to my mom, and then very quietly walked out again. I don't know. You decide. And you know what? That's going to get posed to all the listeners because that's the end of the Homegrown Horror. So I wonder what you folks think happened. I think it was something similar to that. Or maybe like the stalls were connected. And I shouldn't say stalls. The bathroom was like side by side with like the men's room. And she said her dad's a prankster. And maybe it was like, bless you, to try and freak them out.
Yeah, but I
would do that.
But the thing is, if I were a guy, I wouldn't, in a public place, I wouldn't stick my head into the women's restroom.
I'm not saying stick your head in. I'm just saying like if the bathrooms were side by side, like the walls were up against each other and he could hear the sneeze. Because sometimes you can hear like toilets flush and noises come from another bathroom that's like next to it.
Yep.
Because plumbing is usually run like very close to each other.
Yeah.
That he might have just like said something loudly in his bathroom that barely carried through to the other bathroom.
I can
or
see
it
that.
was a ghost, or it was the ghost of, I think it's Sarah Winchester, who was just like, oh, you need a bless you. Here's a bless you for you. So who knows? But that's a really good story.
Yeah, it is
Appreciate
a really good story.
And we got to talk about shit a whole bunch. And that's just
God,
like the most fun thing in the world. So good stuff.
So this is my last email for the night. And it's from Andrea. And it's titled Ouija Boards. So I'm new to podcasts, just started catching up on yours and loving it.
Oh, thank you.
I had to send this in. According to my mom, there are 2 stories as to why we moved when I was 5 years old. We lived in a little house that was a wedding gift from my dad's parents. Fancy.
That's a nice wedding gift.
My mom had gotten pregnant and the house didn't have another bedroom. They bought a big Victorian house that would fit the new family. Now, the alternate story is that her friend had played with a Ouija board and, quote unquote, invited any spirits in. My mother told me the stories. So, waking up to a man standing over the bed with a knife, the smell of cat pee on her mattress that started at the very end of the bed but gradually spread up the bed until her whole bed smelled terrible.
That's gross and
terrifying. She
terrifying.
had a Siamese cat, but he'd never peed on the bed before. She said things got so bad she didn't want to be in the house at all. That's crazy.
Okay, what asshole friend would use a Ouija board at someone else's house and invite all the spirits in? Like, that is a dick move, man.
They're like, it's not my house, do what I want. You know what I mean? I don't have to take the ghosts home with me. They live with you now.
Yeah, I'm leaving the Ouija board too, so have fun.
The fun thing is I remember that house as nice and happy. The house we moved to was very old, and I had 2 experiences there that told me the house had presences, but they weren't really scary. One was definitely the ghost of my cat, who died tragically at only 4 years old. Oh, such a baby. I watched his shadow move impossibly along some walls into my closet where the light didn't match the shadows, or was the same path he'd run when he was alive. The light wouldn't have cast shadows on those walls, and I just knew it was him. The other incident was a ghost I called David. I don't know why I called him that, but after my door got broken, my mom put a simple hook and eye to keep the door closed while I was inside. David opened my door while I had it hooked closed. I watched the hook lift, hesitate, then fall.
That's creepy as shit.
That's creepy because that's just something that you can't say was just something blowing or
Oh yeah, just a draft or maybe like a little earthquake. Like no, that was straight up someone like channeling their Swayze, like getting through the unlocking of the door.
He took a wallet of mine, then eventually returned it with extra money inside. I had one coat that every summer would have money in the pocket every winter.
Where the fuck do you find these ghosts?
I want a ghost.
Send
that
David
does
to
that.
my fucking
Yeah,
house, man.
It's like he's paying rent.
It's 111 degrees outside. I could use the like savings on my cooling bill and then some extra money in my pocket.
I'd check the pockets when I put it away for the summer, but when I took it out for fall or winter, there would be $5 in the pocket. Now, I would have suspected my parents, but they weren't the type to give you money like that. If my parents had found money in my pocket, they'd keep it. Bonus for them. My parents are the same way. It's cool.
It's funny.
I was never afraid of David. I felt like he liked me and wanted me to be happy. The ghost of my cat, I always felt like he was there now to keep David company. That's kind of sweet. He'd always do silly things like make noise but try to look innocent when I turned the light on to see what the noise was. Once he died because of feline leukemia, I knew he was there for David. He was still looking after me, but he was David's companion now.
It's a really nice way to think of it.
Yeah, it's a nice way to think of it. That your cat's not alone and this spirit that's supposedly giving you boatloads of cash is also not alone. The house...
Okay, put that.
The house had been built 100 years earlier, and I still have a key that belonged to an old cabinet that was gone long before we moved in. I keep it as a good luck charm with my other keys. That's really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. Mom also told me about a house she used to pass when she went horseback riding as a teenager. It was abandoned, and the upper floor had no actual floor. She said the horse wouldn't go near the house. She told me about seeing a green light that traveled around the upper windows despite there being no floor to walk on. The horse just would not go near the house.
I think I don't know if animals can sense spirits, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do know that if you see something creepy and an animal sees something creepy, they're like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm not dealing with that shit. Except our dog, who's like, I'm chasing that thing down.
Which
like,
dog?
Yui. Yui sees a shadow on a wall. She's like, is there a shadow? And she just runs up and puts her nose on that wall. Meanwhile, I think in most cases, like animals, like if they see something creepy, like whine and just like exit the room.
Yeah.
That's when you know like something really bad is happening. I feel like our corgi would just be like, something bad, and just like run over to it and just be like super happy, wagging her tail like, you're about to die.
She had to get off the horse and drag it past the house by the bridle, and it would resist the whole time. You have to think this house, or not this house, I mean the house probably weighs a ton too, but this horse weighs a lot, and she's pulling this giant creature.
Right.
I had forgotten how big horses were because the last time I'd rode one, the last time I was on one was when I was
Way to
10
circumvent that.
or 13 or something.
That was genius. I'm so impressed with you right now.
So the last time I'd ridden one was when I was, the last time I was on a horse was when I was younger, like preteen age. And I had forgotten how big they were until we went riding last year or something like that. And I didn't realize these creatures are huge.
Yeah.
They are taller than you.
Yeah, they're big.
They're insanely big. And just imagine having to pull that giant horse in front of this house that's just resisting you the entire time.
I know I talk about this book series a lot. It's one thing I really like about Wheel of Time is like everyone has like a connection to their mount, their horse, and they all have like names for them. And they tell you the various different like types of horses and shapes and sizes. And like it like reminds me of like my connections with my pets, because these people didn't have pets for recreation. They had something that was a means of transportation that's also an animal that's enormous that like has like this bond with them. So some of the things that I cried about when I read that series, like characters died that were beloved, and I was like, oh, that sucks. One of the horses died. I fucking bawled my eyes out while I was reading that part. It is the sad, like I know the Snarked right now is in the Twitch chat and they're gonna be like, oh my god, like
Wait,
that part is so fucking sad.
So you cry at that, but you don't cry at that scene in the Neverending Story?
Never seen it.
We've gotten to that scene before, and then you just didn't want to watch.
The swamp scene?
Yes.
That horse is fine. It just disappeared, okay? That's all I'm saying. You gotta tell yourself some shit to get through. Plus, I was just like, this movie's stupid.
You're
I was
stupid.
saying it just to annoy you. We were gonna turn it off, and you're like, let's watch like a third of the Neverending Story. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that we're not supposed to end this story via the name, but who knows?
I hate you. Also, the other day, my sister and I literally did the whole Bastion, say my name thing, like super randomly. We always do that, and it's just so funny. Okay, anyway, so once they were beyond the house, it was fine. She heard creepy noises and saw lights lights every time she went near the house. It was on the way between her home and the town, but she learned to go the long way to avoid it. Mom has a lot of creepy stories, but she doesn't like to talk about them, especially about the house that I grew up in before I was 5. That's all I remember. I never found the houses we lived in super scary, although I got kind of creeped out in the old Victorian ones sometimes. I still am afraid of the dark, which I hate. I occasionally see ghosts, but it's like I see them when they don't intend me to.
Wow.
I just see someone, look again, and they're gone, although I can describe them in detail. I figure I'm not sensitive, but I get peaks when they aren't expecting it. I hope you enjoyed that. Writing you on my phone leaves me sure I'm incomprehensible. Sorry about that.
Shout out to Spooky Mom for editing all of these.
I was kind of less than sober when I sent my stories. I hope I mentioned how much I enjoy the podcast. You guys are super fun to listen to. I'm happy to have you share my stories. They aren't crazy scary, but they are what I was told / experienced. But I forgot to mention my hubby. He's my true love / soulmate. That's so romantic. In every way, I'm a lucky, lucky girl. Anyway, he and I both saw the ghosts of our cats. His has a glow white blob at night, while mine has a daytime shadow. It's one of several weird things he and I share that were opposite but the same. Love you guys. Thank you so much for a fun podcast. Neither of you have annoying voices, trust me. Andrea, Shade Siren, Wiley. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It's always nice to hear our voices aren't annoying, because especially me, when I edit it, just about every time I hear myself talk, I hate everything about my voice and myself. So.
And even my coworker was like, man, the girl on that podcast's voice is annoying.
Wow.
And
that's so shitty, dude.
No, but it was just super funny because I was like, that's me. And she's like, oh my God.
Oh, wow.
It was funny.
You can say it's not shitty because it's funny. It's still shitty, just saying. But it is funny. Thank you so much for sending that in, Shade Siren. We sincerely appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and move into my last one of the show, and the last one of the show. And the subject is voices. And it's long.
Scary. I don't like that.
Okay, it's long, and we're going to get into it, and it starts out like this. Yola, Adam and Robin.
Yola.
It's got to be like Ola and YOLO mixed together.
No, or just Yo and Ola.
That could be too. My name is Rachel, and I thought these would be a few interesting stories in a few different ways for you. Feel free to share it if you would like. Do note, though, 2 out of the 3 have sad yet happy aspects to them. I absolutely love your podcast, and it helps get me through my job daily, including wigging me out a little as I work at night, and sometimes it adds a little scary flair to my evening, especially when working in haunted places. That is super creepy, and we apologize. But we're just trying to really lean towards the ish and not just the scary part, so hopefully it's nothing too bad.
Nice.
It goes on to say, so the first thing to note, I live in a duplex apartment with my boyfriend and our roommate, who was the original housemate prior to him moving in. Then I came shortly after.
What is a duplex?
A duplex is like a single house that's been split into 2 units. Pretty sure.
So they share the same staircase? Like someone will go into the other house through the staircase? Or?
It's usually like they have a shared entrance. One leads to the downstairs. One leads to a staircase that takes you upstairs. And the upstairs is a unit and the downstairs is a unit.
Okay.
I lived in a duplex that was like supposedly a townhouse, but all they had done is build walls on the first floor and the second floor that were totally not up to code, and just split this house right down the middle, so it was technically a duplex. It was a piece of shit house in a really bad area, but my rent was $600, so it's like, what are you going to do? My house got broken into, but that's going to happen. All right, getting back to it. During casual discussion with the roommate one day, the roommate is gender neutral by choice, said that the house was haunted and had a few instances during the first year there, but nothing bad. For instance, it's like, hey, just by the way, now that you're living here, place is haunted. For instance, lights flickering, cups casually being knocked over and whatnot, mainly in the kitchen where one big incident took place. Maybe it was a kitty cat, since we already had one kitty cat ghost. Cups getting knocked over just sounds like a kitty cat's MO.
Yep.
I have also been...
I don't know, because our cat doesn't knock stuff over like that.
Our cat doesn't, but she's devious. She chews cords.
And hair ties.
It goes on to say, I have been diagnosed with schizophrenia in the past and have a habit of hearing things and seeing things, but sometimes, in parentheses, very unsettling, the things I see have been confirmed by others without these issues, so it's hard to discern sometimes what's my head and what isn't. That is a very difficult disorder to live with, and I just want to give you a shout out because it is very, very hard to just even acknowledge the fact. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And I am personally incredibly proud of you for being able to send me that email and say that sentence. because, I mean, I've mentioned it before. I have someone that's very close to me, and I'll just say it right now. It's my brother who has difficulties at some points in his life just saying that sentence. So that right there speaks volumes to me. So shout out to you. I'm going to keep going. The first time we recognized that the house was haunted was when my boyfriend and I went to sleep one night shortly after we started dating and were having some trouble sleeping. I was on the side of the bed against the wall, and he was on the edge closest to the door. As we were starting to fall asleep, we both were startled awake by what sounded like tiny feet stomping up the stairs and running right past his bedroom door. We tried to quietly reason that it must have been neighbors or the roommate, but this was around 3 a.m. on a Wednesday, and all had gone to sleep and haven't made noises since around midnight.
That's frightening.
We also realized during this moment of contemplation that his bedroom door is directly in between the stairwell and ends at a 90-degree angle with the bathroom door, so whatever it was had to have ran in the bathroom and would have nowhere else to go lest they go the other direction toward the roommate's room.
Oh my God, I'm assuming that there was nothing there.
Hilariously, my boyfriend pulled a secret machete out from beside his bed.
How do you have a secret machete?
That's because she probably didn't know it was there. Beside his side of the bed, in parentheses, has for home protection. I can just imagine like going to my friend's house late at night and trying not to be like too like noisy, and them coming down the staircase with a fucking machete. Like, I would think I was about to be murdered by like Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
But hey, home protection. Let's be real. Continues on. He crept to the door asking me if we should call the police, and I replied, and tell them what? Officer, a ghost is breaking into our apartment and running about the hallway.
Also, here's my secret machete.
Right? All in a sneaky whisper, mind you. He searched the apartment and found no one around and immediately came back in and said, yup, that shit is fucking haunted, man. We continued to hear it for a few more minutes in spurts, but it stopped shortly after. We still ended staying up as I was pregnant at the time and couldn't get comfortable. Dude, imagine being pregnant, being woken up by 3 a.m. by a running child, or I'm guessing child, but a running ghost. I'd be like, I don't have time to deal with this nonsense right now.
I feel like if it were me, I would just be pissed off.
Right.
Because as soon as that kid comes, I'm not getting any sleep. So if you're making me lose sleep before it even happens, I'm going to kill you.
Not to mention the fact that you're like pregnant, so sleeping is difficult in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I was sleeping and you woke me up, like things will be burned. All right. Goes on to say, it has been confirmed by the roommate that there is a shadow presence in the living room, and it was always unsettling to me until one day in particular. During the early time of our relationship, we found out I was pregnant by my new boyfriend while still having to deal with the previous separation from my ex, which had been an extreme amount of stress for me and my boyfriend alike, as he would constantly call and harass me, including mocking the pregnancy. He had began to fuck with my head and convinced me I was going to be a terrible parent, which caused a lack of sleep, and I would go downstairs as to not wake up my boyfriend and let my emotions out. That is fucked up.
That's super
He is a horrible
up.
person.
Yep.
Hashtag fuck him. Just saying. So I'm going to keep going before I rant too much more, but that's just horrible. No one deserves that. Shortly after a huge fight with my ex, which had been a day-long strain of unwanted phone calls, I went downstairs and had a long mental breakdown on the couch in the living room and felt this shadow grow huge around me. But it began to retreat the more these emotions were released. It was almost as if it were afraid of what was happening because at the time, I felt like something was wrong and there was an unceasing fear within me.
Wow.
Shortly thereafter, it was discovered this argument with my ex and the stress caused me to miscarry what would have been a set of fraternal twins, which would have been my first ever pregnancy. Holy
That's
shit.
super unfortunate and super horrible.
Yeah, that's super intense. And I'm very, very sorry that you had to go through something like that. That's stressful that resulted in something that sad. It goes on to say, I would frequently return to the couch due to being kept awake by the pain during the miscarriage. Apparently, it's worse than normal due to it being multiple pregnancy, and the pain was the feeling of being in half labor constantly. I noticed that the shadow would immediately keep a safe distance, and the atmosphere would calm around me as if it wanted to comfort me and all it had witnessed previously. It's like, there's like a meme out there where it's like a demon possesses someone's body and then starts feeling all the pain that the person feels, and it's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And they're like, can I offer you a mint? Like, what do you want? Like, this reminds me of that, where it's like, if you're going through something so horrific, I think there's a lot of things that feed off that sort of energy.
Yep.
But I think there's a certain threshold where it's like, ooh, shit, like maybe this isn't the right time. Like even something like that, something supernatural would just either leave well enough alone or just sort of be there.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of times when I think of like malevolent forces or malevolent energy, it's like the reason they torment things is because like the old adage, like misery loves company. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you're already like exceedingly miserable or going through something so horrible, like I just can't imagine that there's much more that this thing could do, you know? So it goes on to say, as of writing this, it has been 5 months since my miscarriage, and anytime I return to the living room, I have not sensed a single drop of bad energy. The shadow creature remains, but we seem to have now a sort of friendship, and if I ever feel sad, it now calms me rather than endorse my pain. That's so weird, but like so nice.
Yeah.
The last time and most recent took place in the kitchen. My boyfriend and I like to have crazy nights sometimes, and we also smoke a lot of hookah. I went downstairs toward the end of one of these nights. I went to go repack the hookah that had burnt out in the kitchen alone. When you repack, you have to wash the old tobacco out of the bowl and light the coal on the stove. I noticed there were dishes in the sink when I went downstairs, so I decided to quickly do those while I was there. While I was doing the dishes, I noticed a myriad of voices starting to talk all at once in my head, and when I'd turn around, they would stop. I decided to try and ignore them, but they began to get louder, and out of the blue, one voice spoke out in particular and said, "Hi."
Nope.
I was immediately halted in my task as it chilled me to my core. The voice was one of my best friends who had committed suicide close to 2 years prior. That is so sad. He had always been one of my best friends, and we stayed friends after all other high school friends faded into their lives as adults. I was a couple years older than him and tried to keep up with him as much as I could. Eventually, just as things do, life caught up with the both of us and contact became less and less. I was dealing with a lot of drama and work, or I think it's drama at work, or just a lot of drama and also a lot of work, as well as he was in a band that kept him pretty busy most of the time. We would try and message as we could, and I made sure to like all of his posts about his band on Facebook. Quick pause. You don't know how much that means to someone to support the thing that they're pouring themselves into. Because like Robin and I have been doing this podcast for about a year and a half. And like, that's how we know so many of the people in the Spooky Friends is like so-and-so clicked like, you know what I mean? So-and-so shared it. So-and-so favorited it. And it means a lot. You know what I mean? Like you put a lot of yourself into something, like you create something and you're trying to be creative and put something out there that like is entertaining or helps people. And in the best thing that you could probably hope for is that it gets ignored instead of getting shit on. So when something happens, like someone acknowledges or clicks like on it, like it really does mean a lot.
Yeah.
So you were doing that, and I guarantee you that meant a lot. As well as comment that I was proud of him and couldn't wait to go see one of his shows sometime. Then one day I went on Facebook and his obituary had been posted, along with a request for donations to the suicide hotline. This has always been a regret for me, as during high school, I was a very troubled person. He had saved me from the same fate more than a few times that I can count, as well as kept me sane in the process, but I wish I could have done the same for him, just as he did for me all those years ago. I can't say don't feel too much regret, because I'm filled with regret for stuff like this, but just understand that like it was a choice that was made, and as much as you could have been there for someone, it's never, ever, ever your fault. Like, there's just nothing you can do sometimes, and you just have to accept that. And you've probably heard this a million times, and I have to tell myself this all the time too. But it's just one of those things that's like horribly tragic, and there's no explanation for it. But the things that you did when they were still around, those are the things that truly matter. It goes on to say, when I heard this voice, I immediately stopped in my tracks and asked for him to say something else. I never thought I would hear his voice again after I lost him, and the last thing he said was, "I'm okay, don't worry," before the voices faded to nothing. I spent some time downstairs contemplating what just happened, and when I returned upstairs, my boyfriend asked if I was okay since I was visibly shaken. All I could say at the time was I wasn't going to the kitchen alone next time. I eventually did tell him what I heard, and I still hope to hear it again whenever I go to the kitchen alone, but all times have been silent ever since. Sorry about the long stories and the sadness in them, but they were very important times in my life, and I hope you like them. Creeping it real, Rachel.
It's pretty solid.
It's a pretty solid sign off. Those are amazing stories.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate that you've had to deal with so much crappy stuff in your life and a lot of hardships, and we're just glad you're around to share your stories with us.
You're in a very difficult fight, and you're doing incredibly well. I can tell you that just from like my familiarity with a lot of the things that you've gone through, and we parallel a lot in a lot of shit. So I sincerely appreciate you reaching out because, it's not easy to write a scary story that happened to you, much less an incredibly traumatic experience. So, and you wrote a few. So we sincerely appreciate it, and your outlook on everything is just amazing. And yeah. It's a great story. Thank you for sending that in. And I guarantee you someone out there heard that, and it means the world that they could hear something like that shared. And thank you one last time.
Yes, thank you to everyone who sent in their homegrown horrors this week. You guys are awesome, and we are so thankful because without your stories, there is no story time.
Totally true.
And everybody that's supported us through our live stream and everything like that tonight, any type of support you guys give us, it really does help keep this podcast going because we can't do it without you. And we are all based on our community. It's just you, all our spooky friends, our spooky fam. You guys are awesome.
It's totally true. And if you have a story that you thought of while you were listening to this that you would like to share, whether or not you want it to be read on the show, or you just want to share it with us and just like kind of tell it to someone, because a lot of times people are like, no one's going to believe this. I just have to tell someone that this happened to me. We get those a lot. You can email storytime@scarish.com. That is our email address. You can go to our website, scarish.com, click on Contact Us, fill out that form. It'll come directly to us. Or hit us up on our social medias. We have Facebook, which is facebook.com/scarishpodcast. You can message us there. Instagram is @scarishpodcast. You can message us there. And Twitter is @scarishpod. You can tweet at us or just DM us. Slide into our DMs if you need to. And say hey. And we appreciate all of the support we get, all of the things that you share with us. We have a lot of folks that join us on the live shows that like to subscribe. A lot of people use their Amazon Prime subscription, which you can link with your Twitch account and get one free sub. I know we say it to all the people during the live show a whole bunch to remind them, but we get this money that doesn't come out of their pockets. It comes from the money that they're already paying to their Amazon Prime. And if you ever want to join us, we will 100% help you out with that. And it's just a fun time, man. It's really, really good time to talk to you folks about what these stories are like and react to them like live with you. And it's like the best thing we do all week. So thank you to everyone who does that. And anyone who would like to support us financially, Robin has those hot deets.
So you can go on over to patreon.com/scarishpodcast, and those are monthly donations. Tiers start at $1. Right now, I do have really cool promotion where we have some summer merch that you can get your hands on, and there's a discount code for patrons, and it's 10% off our entire Teespring store. So if you want to pick up some cool new stuff for the summer, or some threads for winter, because we got sweaters too, you know what I'm saying?
We also got blankets.
We got blankets. Yes, we have blankets.
And pillows.
And
Get yourself a set.
Yeah, do it.
And baby onesies.
Yes, anyone having a baby? Because you want scarier stuff. But seriously, any support is awesome. Patreon.com/scarishpodcast. But we also do Ko-fi or coffee, ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast. And those are one-time donations if you're not the monthly subscription type. And those are all donations that help us upgrade our studio setup. So we've bought this mics with them, the camera, all that stuff, and will help us upgrade this computer here that's chugging along. So
yeah, and thank you so much to everyone that joins us. Thank you to everyone that listens, even all the silent spooky friends out there. We appreciate every one of you.
Yes.
Someone's like, that's me in your car right now or at work.
Yeah.
We love you. Seriously, we do. And thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us in all the ways that you do, even though we've never heard you or met you or like know your name. Like, we know you're there and we appreciate you. So I think that's just about everything we have for this episode, though. So Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.